I'm going to introduce you to Kelly. Most of you don't know that this man here, right? No. We've known Kelly for, a couple years. I first met Kelly 14 years ago, and he didn't have a very good impression of me. He thought I carried a big stick or something. But anyway, through his wife, Kathy, that was my first introduction. And then 2 years ago, Sandy and I were out in the yard sale house there, storage thing. And this guy shows up and he says, "Hi, I'm Kelly." And I'm saying, "Kelly?" And since then, enjoyed getting to know him better. So you're going to hear Kelly's story, and we welcome you.
Well, for you guys, I'm Kelly. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my journey, my testimony. I even have a clicker. Bob helped me put this together. Technology is kind of new to me, and you'll find out why. Whoop, that battery thing keeps coming on. See if I can figure out how to do this. There we go. This is where my story begins. This is where I was born and raised. And I was born into a family of 2 older brothers, and then I had a younger sister. My parents owned a mom and pop's grocery store. I didn't be able to get a picture of that fast enough, but so growing up, I was pretty well taken care of. I ended up working in the store, growing up in the town, and this is the area where I lived. It's called the Circles. There's a church in the middle, and as I grow up, that's the church I went to. Of course, it was a Sunday going to meeting church, but I went to that church for 13 years. Sunday school as a kid, all the way up, and I can remember before I turned 13, being able to recite all the books in the Bible. And I remember getting a certificate for it and being nice, and we were involved in the church sports program. It was just a blessing because my life was focused. I had a purpose. But as you get older, things happen. There's the front picture of the church. It was very pleasant. People were great. And I grew up with a pastor's son. And I'm still in contact with him. And there's even the school I graduated from. But as I turned 13, I took a turn in my life. Instead of being focused on the church and the God, I got focused on the world. Sports, girls, parties. And my life was good as I thought, but it ended up leading me down the road of destruction. And I thought I was doing okay. I had a good job, got married, had kids, ended up building my own house. Here's the boardwalk where everybody likes to go to. I grew up going to that, and when I got old enough, I stayed away from it because everybody they went to was tourists. I went somewhere else. There's me. I'm going to leave that there for a second so I can catch up to it. When I was about 18, 19, I got married. I had 2 sons. Had a very good job. I worked as a tanner. Tanned cow hides, processed them through. It was the only tannery on the West Coast. We made leather for Kenny shoes, Adidas, Buxton belt, Schlesinger handbags, Coach handbags, any brand that you could think of. Red Wing boots. It was a very good job. I got my union retirement vested through it. And but my partying and my drinking and my drug use abolished that. I ended up getting divorced. It was a very unpleasant time, but I didn't lose custody of my kids. We had joint custody. So I continued on my path of destruction. Met somebody that I went to school with who was on the same path of destruction. I got remarried. Things seemed to go good. I ended up building a house. We bought some property, and it took me 2 years, every day after life. After work, every weekend, every night. Work till midnight, get up, go to work at 6 o'clock in the morning. But the lifestyle that we led didn't have Christ in it. It was like a living hell. And as I continued my life, everything just kind of got worse. Shortly after finishing the house, things really went really bad. And let's just say I broke the law. And I got put on a very long vacation in the city of Tracy. I was a Tracy resident for 27 years. Of course, that's down the road here, 23500 Quezon Road. While I was there, right before I came there, I met my wife that I'm married to today. It was a hard thing to do, but she kept dropping little hints, talking about the church, talking about God. Of course, I wasn't ready to listen. But about 1999, I'd finally had enough. So one day she goes, "Would you like to do some Bible studies?" I said, "Yeah." So I went through Doug Batzler's program. And since I kind of like history, everything kind of came back to me. Right when I knew the first thing about the city on the 7 hills, I knew right away it was Rome. I found it interesting. I found it accurate. So it helped me to believe and get my life focused again. It was hard being where I was at, because the chapel that they had there seemed to be everybody focused on themselves and not the Lord. So there wasn't a Seventh-day Adventist congregation or anything there. What I had to do was through the mail. Then Kathy, my wife, who's my little angel, convinced Pastor Jim Whitcomb. He came out to meet me. And that just reinforced my beliefs even more. So I continued to grow, continued to believe, and continued to focus my life. Kathy and I helped raise a little girl, and some of you know her. She was April. And that was a true blessing in my life. Then Becky came out to visit me. My first impression of her was a school teacher with a yardstick. She just had this stern look on her face when I came out. I don't know if it was having to come into the prison gates or whatever, but she was pleasant. We talked about church. We talked about the Lord's Word. And I'm not sure if he ever came back. Once might have been enough. But I think through my wife and the people that reinforced me, my family stayed with me, my brothers, my sisters. I had a lot of friends that were very supportive that would come and visit. They would drive 2 or 3 hours a couple times a year to come and visit me. They could see the change in my life. And it's all because the word that I read was true. You know, and for the longest time, I didn't touch a Bible. I think I had a Bible in my house. Dust on it must have been this thick. And that's why I went the way I went. You're always trying to please other people, trying to please the world, and try to get ahead. Well, it took me 34 years on vacation before I got to come out to society. I'm only 64, so that's more than half my life. So once I got out, I had to go through a reentry program to readjust to society for having been gone so long. That's why I'm not very good with technology, because when I went in, they didn't have it. It took me a year to learn how to use a cell phone. But what was the blessing is on the day that I got out, it was Thanksgiving Day, 2016. And so every Thanksgiving, I feel blessed. So I went through this program for 6 months. Got out. I was going to get a job here in Tracy, but my benefactor, Mr. Van Bever, passed away prior to that. So I had to go to Plan B. And that was the program I went through a nonprofit foundation. They were so impressed with me that they offered me a job. So I've been working for them ever since. I'm a house staff, transportation driver, security guard for the same people that get out of prison like I did. I'm able to help them. And then they pretty much take care of me because I do whatever it does to help the guys succeed. Some of them, less than 5% fail that we have because we're very supportive. I drive all over Stockton Monday through Friday, making sure they get to their appointments. I talk to them about my experiences so that I can show them if I can do it, so can you. And as of June of last year, as you see by the picture, I decided to go to college. I hadn't been in school for 45 years. It was a big step. And to be a medical assistant was even a bigger step. All my life I'd worked with my hands in the industry and outside building things. But this, I'd had so many sports injuries, I knew the anatomy of the body. So that was a plus. So here's me on next to my last day in class, which was February 28th of this year. So part of that, this is what I used to see every morning from the house I grew up in Santa Cruz. I'd look down the street, it'd go all the way down to the bay, and I would see this. As I was going through my pictures and stuff, it reminded me how blessed we are to be able to wake up every day, to help somebody follow the same steps of recovery or redemption. And I tell you what, whoever picked out these songs today did a very good job. Here is part of my college. Without the support of some of the people here, this would have never happened. The encouragement I received, it kept me going. Because the first week, I was scared to death. I didn't think I was going to make it. It was like a whole new world. But I'm not a quitter. And I was able to do this for the whole program. Even the people that knew me when I went to school were amazed. I have friends that I grew up with that contacted me because I post this on my Facebook page, and they said, "Where were you 50 years ago?" And this is what I want to leave you with, because every day I am grateful that I wake up. I'm grateful for coming here to this church, for the people that I meet that encourage me, that share their love. I'm not a big winded speaker. I try to do the best I can. There's a few people that I know that met me a long time ago. I'm not going to say who they are. But I'm so happy to be here, to be in this position, so that now I can help other people. God, He didn't give up on me. So I can be of service to whoever I can. And I know the guys that get out that I help are very grateful. They tell me we wouldn't know what to do. Because it took me a year to get a driver's license. Because I just wasn't ready. But since then, I've been able to move forward in my life. I'm not in a hurry. I'm just taking what comes, and as God gives it to me. I'm going to graduate college at the end of this month. Right now I work in urgent care in Modesto, part of college. I have to have 200 hours in before I graduate, so they get my services for free. But I like the work. So I get anywhere from babies up to older adults. And for me to be in the medical field is like, okay, that's where you want me to be. And the people I work with are great. They encourage me. And I can tell you this, no matter what comes up in life, you can do it. Because I've been to hell and back. And believe me, hell's on the other side of that highway. And it's bad. I'm grateful that I made it out alive. And I look out here, and I see a lot of faces that I hope to see more of. Every time I come, there's a lot of people that I see repeatedly. I don't live here. I drive all the way from Stockton to get here. So, and I'm grateful for the membership here. And old Dick, he pulled me over to the side and said he wants me to be a deacon in training. So I guess the Lord is keeping me on the right path. So I think my time, it was almost 20 minutes. I did pretty good. No yardstick.
Something, Kelly, you didn't mention what you did when you were on vacation. I read some of your sermons.
Yeah.
He preached for the little Adventist church when he was on vacation.
Let me add that. So I was over here for 27 years. Well, and I was the institutional printer. That's why they kept me so long, because I saved them a lot of money. Probably $500,000 to $1 million a year. I ran the print shop by myself. I serviced the machines, I did all the things I needed to do. But they changed custody levels. So they sent me, because of some medical issues, they sent me all the way down to San Luis Obispo. And sitting on a yard one day, this man was sitting in front of our housing unit. He had his Bible open, and as I'm walking by, the sun just shined off his bald head. Got me by attention, so I went over and introduced myself. Because I saw he had the Word in his hand. And he told me he was a Seventh-day Adventist, and he's getting ready to go to services. I said, what? So I went. It was like, why did this happen? It was a small congregation at first, about 20 people. It took me close to a year to feel comfortable enough to get up and talk. And then the congregation started to grow. We had up to 55 people at one time. And a lot of them were in the same boat. They were doing a life sentence, which I did. So it came to the point that the people that were the members that were up there sharing and bringing the Word, they were gradually getting transferred out. So since I had been part of the congregation for longest, they came up to me and asked me to do it. I looked at them, what? I said, okay, give me a couple weeks. So I sat down and I wrote my sermon out. And I would sit up, told them I was ready. I came up and I had it all, like 10 pages, all handwritten. And the first time was kind of scary. But then after that, every 6 weeks, for 2-3 years, I would bring the Word. And I am still in contact with the people, the volunteers that used to come in. And Kathy and I have actually driven down to that church. And that I was baptized under before I became a member here. They were very surprised to see me. They said after all this time, I was the only one that had gotten out that came to the church. They were able Art shared my story in front of the congregation down there. They actually have an ex-pastor that's 100 years old. The day that we went was his birthday. I can just say that the things are happening because the Lord's putting me in the right spots. So, I don't think I'd be here today if I hadn't gone all the way down there. Just a place where they have a Seventh-day Adventist church. So, and Peggy's actually, Becky has actually read some of my sermons. So I have them stored away somewhere. I can't find them in folders because I would send them home to Kathy after I got done so she could read them. And it was amazing after all that time to find them and go through them. So I have boxes and boxes of stuff. I've already thrown a bunch away, but I've kept the important ones. So I want to thank you for being here today and listening to me. And know, if I can go back to school at 63 years old and get a new career, you can do anything you want with the Lord. Okay? So I would like to say a little prayer. Okay. Dear Father, thank you for all that you've given to me, all that you've put in my life, all the challenges that I went through, because I know I wouldn't have made it without your support and your guidance. So all the members that are here, and all the members that are other in down south, the hospital, the church. Please keep your spirit in our hearts. Keep your arms around them. I do this in Jesus' name. Amen.